I'm back with another video about everyone's favorite conservative, butt-pumping YouTuber, Steven Crowder. Now, I'm not going to go over my whole history with Steven Crowder because I've done several videos about him here on this channel that you can watch after this one. But basically, I have mixed feelings towards Crowder because on the one hand, I will give him props. He does some pretty good work. And it's nothing groundbreaking, and there's a lot of issues he won't cover. But a lot of it is very good, and it has a wide stream appeal that maybe it can kind of act as a gateway for other ideas for normies. So he does do a lot of great work. I'll give him his props. So on the one hand, I like him for that. But I have a couple other issues with him. I'm not going to go through them all, but for two of the main ones, one is he's kind of a mean guy to people that don't deserve it. The guy's kind of a jerk. I had a video covering how after the Covington Catholic kids had their ordeal in the media, and the way Crowder talked about these young underage boys was so mean, so disrespectful. And these are boys that they were already piled on, and they had the media piling on, trying to bully them, trying to even potentially get them hurt or killed is what the mainstream media is doing, acting as a bully. And then Crowder goes to his millions of followers and he speaks about them in a very disrespectful way. These boys that did nothing wrong, they didn't do anything to anybody. And you'd think Crowder, for a guy that's supposed to be pro-life, you'd think he'd appreciate what they were trying to do there in Washington, D.C. And the other main issue I have with Crowder is anyone that's on the spectrum of being further right than he is, because Crowder is not a very right-wing guy, not in my opinion, and there's certainly people much further right than him. Anyone that's a little bit further right than he is, he will act like they are evil. He's very quick to disassociate with those people and disavow them. And he doesn't really even want to defend their rights to say what they want. And he won't even have these guys, these right-wing guys, on his show to even as a debate. It's never going to happen because Crowder, he has to do things for money, and he has an agenda to push, and he can't be true. He can't be totally truthful a lot of the time. And if someone comes on his show as a guest to debate him, and they're armed with the truth, there's no way Crowder can win. Even if it's on his show, we saw how he fared when he went on Joe Rogan's. When he was doing an away game and he went on Joe Rogan's show, Crowder came off as not looking very good, not looking very smart. But anyways, Crowder, I saw a video that he just recorded in his car. Now, the video was actually mostly about the proposed e-cigarette ban, but something struck me. What Crowder was saying, that he said something, you're not a conservative if you're for banning things that offend you. And he mentioned a few different things, but one of the things he mentioned is pornography. And I thought that's a very odd thing to defend, pornography, because traditionally, pornography was never covered under freedom of speech. Now, they've got all these people, they tricked them into believing that if you support freedom, then you should want pornography to exist. And Crowder's buying into and pushing that agenda, that perspective, which really, it shouldn't be that surprising that Crowder is pro-pornography. He's a middle-aged man that instead of getting his wife pregnant, he would rather look at pornography, I'm sure. Instead of getting his wife pregnant, I'd rather make YouTube videos. Making YouTube videos to him is more important than giving his wife the baby that she wants. And Crowder, what's ironic in all this is, as I was getting older, personally, I was never really into pornography. Maybe because of my age, growing up in the 90s, pornography was pretty hard to access if you were underage in the 90s because it was illegal, basically, and all we really had was magazines, tapes, that kind of thing. And for a lot of underage kids, it's not very easy to get your hands on it, so I never really developed a taste for pornography. And then even coming into later in the 2000s, getting a computer, easy internet access, for the most part, I never even thought really to access it. So thank God that it's not really an issue that I've had, even though a lot of other men out there are struggling, especially young men. But getting older, wiser, you start thinking about things and you come to realizations about certain realities. Now, you can cheat the system without having to learn from experience or just through getting older. You can learn from other people, other sources. Certainly, a good one is the Bible. Even if it doesn't directly mention everything that we have in our modern world, it essentially addresses everything we have. Like, the Bible is not going to specifically talk about internet pornography, but it will address it through other means. It's covered. And you can learn things from other sources. You got YouTube videos out there. You can listen to Tony Robbins, whatever your thing is. Certainly there's other people that you can learn from. And I set this channel up so you guys can learn things, young men can learn things from the things that I've learned throughout my years. So eventually I came to the realization just on my own that pornography is very bad for you. But one of the first videos that I saw that talked about how bad pornography is for you and really went through in depth into the science and gave real specific concrete reasons why it's bad for you is a Steven Crowder video. He had a guest that is a liberal atheist. So this is not some Christian guy that kind of has that bias of a religious perspective. This is a guy that's a liberal. He's an atheist, but he just happens to be a scientist, and he did the research on this, and Crowder had this guy on as a guest, and they did a video, and it was a really great video. It's probably, out of all the videos I've seen on the subject matter, and I don't spend my time watching videos about this in general because it's not an issue that I deal with, but I've seen a lot of Christian videos about this. I've seen other kinds of scientific videos that are more data-driven. Out of everything, probably the best video I've seen about it is Steven Crowder's video. But here he is releasing a new video defending pornography. And currently, I'm recording this from a country that recently, in the past year and a half or so, they banned pornography. Not, at least they tried to ban internet pornography. Now, with anything, if you want to get access to it and you're determined, of course you can. But they at least tried to ban, I think the president of the country did this because he wants a strong nation. He tried to ban pornography on the internet. Not everything's banned, but they at least banned the most popular pornography websites such as Pornhub. I'm not even really sure what else there is out there, but he's getting the main ones. And yeah, you can go to some small website if you're determined to get it. And I'm sure realistically they know this isn't going to totally stop everyone from being able to see pornography, but they realize it's going to make the path to gain it a little bit more difficult, and that will prevent some people, maybe some kids, from accessing it. Now, why would the president of the country I'm in do that? Like I said, I think it's because he wants a strong nation. And if you're a libertarian, which I'm not a libertarian, they have this belief that anything goes, it's all personal responsibility. And I used to kind of think that way about a lot of things. But really, if you do want to have a strong country, you're not going to want people consuming pornography. Because it's going to create weaker people, more mentally. It's going to be mentally corrosive for those people. You're not creating a strong country by giving your people pornography. Think about this. There was a story when Israel, they broke into a Palestinian TV station, and what did they do? They started broadcasting pornography into the homes of all these Palestinians. Now, obviously, is that because they wanted to liberate the Palestinians? Did they want to do them a favor? No, they were using it as a weapon because they know how bad this is for people and for societies, and especially if you're talking long term, how it's not going to make a country or a people stronger. And Crowder, he was pushing this idea that if you want to ban certain things like pornography, well, then you're not a conservative. That's what he was saying. Essentially, this was about those e-cigarette things, but he was mentioning pornography along with all this stuff. And that's what he's saying. If you're for banning this, well, you're not a conservative. Well, first of all, conservative, it's not really a group that has a membership. It's just something people say they're conservative. And these terms like conservative, liberal, right-wing, whatever, they mean different things to different people. It's not like the Catholic Church or being a Republican or a Democrat or being part of the PTA where you have a membership and they have like a concise set of rules and ideas and a platform, and you can be expelled. You're either a member or you're not. And there's all these people, especially younger people I'm seeing, that they're much more liberal, but they call themselves conservatives. You might remember in the last video I talked about that Chinese girl, Kathy Zhu, who's trying to be a conservative leader, but if you look at what she's for and her beliefs, she preaches libertarianism. She doesn't even seem to know the difference between a libertarian and a conservative, and I'm kind of surprised to hear Crowder pushing that same idea, like he's blurring the lines or confusing libertarianism or conservatism. And one of the reasons I would never call myself a conservative or identify as being a conservative is because it's such a weak, stupid movement for the most part, because what's the point of conservatism? Aren't you supposed to be conserving something, conserving core values, conserving a certain way of life? Well, Crowder, he's certainly not into that, maybe because he essentially doesn't care, and that's maybe this is the lesson or the point of this whole video, that Crowder and a lot of these people, they don't care about you. They don't care about America. For God's sake, man, isn't Crowder even a Canadian? But he wants to appeal to very patriotic American guys. Like I said, he's never going to have people on that have ideas, and it's okay not to agree with people. He doesn't have to agree with actual right-wing people, but he won't even give them a platform. He wants to portray those people as evil, and he certainly won't even have them come on his program, even just to debate them. So remember this, guys, Crowder and a lot of those people like that, they don't have your best interests out for you. Pornography, it's not going to do you any good. And if you want to see actually one of the most powerful anti-pornography videos, I don't know what it's called, but I'm sure it's still up on Crowder's channel. Crowder actually produced one of the greatest anti-pornography videos ever, which is part of the reason it's so surprising for me to hear him spouting off this nonsense. Not to mention, he seems to be kind of coming out of the closet, not as a butt pumper, though that'll probably be later. He's dropping those clues constantly for us, but he's coming out of the closet as more a libertarian, not an actual conservative. And this is something that you probably knew about Crowder all along if you've been paying attention to him, if you watch him, that he's probably not an actual conservative himself. But people like him and Kathy Zhu, they want to blur the lines and confuse people and take it to that other direction. And these people, they're not going to conserve anything. So there's really no reason to support him. Okay, now I've said my piece. Go ahead, leave a comment down below, and be sure go check out some other videos on this channel about that. We got a lot of videos about Steven Crowder. We got videos about other stuff. We got videos about his butt buddy, Ben Shapiro. So go ahead and check those out.